Just 2 years ago, 17 people died in an explosion at the Arco chemical plant in Channelview near Houston. A year before that, 23 people were killed and 130 hurt at the Houston Ship Channel after an explosion at the Phillips Petroleum plastics plant. And in 1985, 2 people were killed by an explosion at Chevron's Warren Petroleum plant near Mount View. Another 150 reached safety seconds before the plant went up in a column of flames hundreds of feet high. And we could go on, literally go on and on with this.
You were looking at actual film of what happened when the safety devices failed at a gas drilling site in Lodgepole, Alberta in 1982. This is called a blowout, and you can see why. 2 men were killed, and the resulting fire burned out of control for 6 weeks. The effects were felt 150 miles away in Edmonton. Fortunately, the drilling site was in the bush, where the only people at risk were the unfortunate workmen who gave their lives in a desperate effort to contain this disaster. Can you imagine what would happen if this had occurred in the Fraser Valley, home to 500,000 people, where the population increases on a daily basis? The oil and gas exploration companies, with the blessing of your so-called people-oriented provincial government, intend to bring this appalling risk right into our community, right into Greater Vancouver's backyard. Does this make any sense to you? If the energy companies can't find any oil or gas in the Fraser Valley, they have an even better idea. They're going to put some there for us. This is the hidden agenda. They plan to force natural gas under our cities and homes and schools and farms at pressures of 2,500 pounds per square inch. To do this, they plan to use the water aquifers under the valley. Tens of thousands of homes and farms in the valley depend solely on wells for their water. If the groundwater became contaminated by leaking gas, it would cost billions of dollars to build a piped water system. Who would end up paying for this? You guessed it, you. Here is what happened at an underground aquifer gas storage site in Illinois. Listen to Mrs. Lodine Clark tell you of her experience. She bitterly regrets the day she was talked into allowing gas storage under her family farm. She has had nothing but trouble and grief ever since.
This is the Doug well, and I'll send you some information of what the gas company would like to do with this. It gets hit a couple of times by lightning, and when it does, this rock and this board blow off. But I'd like you to, if you can, look down into this well, and you'll see the gas bubbling. Don't fall, Norman. The gas bubbling on the sides of it as it comes up. Now, this isn't as wild as it's going to be as they put more and more gas in here just before the winter starts. In about September, October, this will boil just like a tea kettle that's really going full tilt. And the gas company has offered at one point to put a pump in this well that would take the gas out of the water before the water was sent into the house. And then their other offer, of course, is they want to put gas monitors in the house, because anytime they penetrate below 10 foot, there seems to be a clay layer that they talk about. And even though their gas is supposed to be stored 500 feet below ground, our fields bubble most of the time. This is one of the holes that they drill every fall in order to release some of this pressure from under the ground. This one, when I raised the fuss, they came and sealed them off. And you can see, Norman, come up here so you can see this water, how it bubbles up around here. We're going to go down in the ditches, and I'll show you how the holes that are really sealed, the water comes up and bubbles, and the gas bubbles even on the holes that are sealed. So sealing the holes is really not that effective. The gas finds a way of coming up around them. This land that we're on right now is Gilman, and that means it's Northern Illinois Gas. But our farm home sits directly across the street there.
Unlike Lodine Clark, they are not being given a choice. The government and the energy companies intend to force it on us. They have changed the law to make this possible. Did anyone tell you before the law was changed? Why not? Shouldn't we at least have the right to be heard before our lifestyle and our homes and farms and even our lives are put at risk? The companies and their high-priced public relations hacks are always full of smooth talk. They say accidents are very rare. Well, we only need one to have a major catastrophe in the Fraser Valley. One is too many. They say everybody uses natural gas. Of course they do. But does that mean we have to store it, 10 billion cubic feet of it, underneath our homes? After all, we all use sewage treatment plants. Does that mean we have to live on top of one? Modern technology means there is no more risk, they say. Well, if you believe that one, take a look at these pictures of a liquefied petroleum gas explosion in a storage area in Brenham, Texas in April 1992. Listen to the people of Brenham tell you their story. Weep for the 2 ordinary people who lost their lives and the 18 people who were seriously injured in this disaster. What you won't hear are PR men from the gas storage industry telling you how sorry the industry is for the people of Brenham whose homes and livestock were destroyed, or how wrong it is to give people false assurance of safety in modern technology. But you can be sure their lawyers have been busy figuring out how to get out of this one.
Were you able to salvage much?
No, not much at all. I've salvaged my mother's vase. Part of it was broke, but it's all right from the baseball.
Well, you gonna move back in here?
No, I wouldn't move back here if you paid me. It's too far.
Did you hear that? I wouldn't go back to live there if they paid me to. Listen to the facts of Brenham. 0.4 on the Richter earthquake scale. The explosion felt 90 miles away. A little boy killed in the ruins of his home. An adult dead of injuries. Homes destroyed and damaged. Vehicles blown off the road. Hundreds of cattle killed. The landscape burned off in a radius of 2 miles. Brenham declared a disaster area by the state and federal government. Finally, you should know that the gas burned for 24 hours in spite of the best efforts of the emergency response teams to bring it under control. Can you imagine such a disaster happening in the Fraser Valley, which is far more heavily populated than Brenham, Texas? Who would you blame for such a catastrophe? How can any government allow its people to be put at such risk? The Friends of the Fraser Valley are not opposed to gas storage. They simply say that gas and oil operations of this kind are inappropriate activities in heavily populated areas. The risks, however remote, are too great. We are lucky that 93% of British Columbia is totally unpopulated. Surely the government and the gas and oil companies can find some place where there is no risk at all. Is this too much to ask? How many more millions of dollars in the pockets of the oil and gas companies are equal to the risk to one human life? Never mind when the risk is unnecessary in the first place. The message of the Friends is simple. Not in anyone's backyard.